Isn't common sense supposed to be common? The struggle is real, my friends. The Kate Daly Show starts now.
Yeah, some things you cannot pray for. My buddy's like, dude, can you pray for me? I was like, yeah, absolutely. What's going on? He goes, I got a drug test tomorrow. I need to pass it. I go, nah, I'm not praying for that. I'm not praying. Some things you cannot pray for. Remember my nephew, Malachi? Remember him? Remember that kid? My sister put in the family group text, she goes, pray for Malachi, he's having a tough day. And everybody in the group text is like, praying for Mally, we love him, supportive, praying hands, lifting him up. All I said was, I go, what's going on? And she texted me directly. You know how they backdoor text you? Yeah. She came around back, she goes, what do you mean? I go, what happened? She goes, he has tendonitis in his thumbs from holding the iPad. I go, I'm not praying for that, dude.
All right. Hi there. Welcome. Kate Daly Show. Woo. Got a lot today. All right. So welcome. And where do I start? Yesterday I had a bit of food poisoning. That was weird. And Sunday night, Monday. Anyway, I'm back and I'll be on Thursday as well. But I am excited. There's so much to talk about, and I want your phone calls too. So feel free, if you would, to call in, or you can text in. So 435-680-2503, 435-680-2503. I would love to hear from you as well, and can't wait to get your comments for sure. All right. So I was looking at a lot of things. I was looking at Fetterman's face, which. There seem to be 6 different distinct Fettermans. It's weird, you guys. I'm not going to lie. It's very, very strange. Go just have a look-see, okay? There's a lot of different Fetterman faces happening. He looks very different depending on which guy. It kind of reminds me of the Biden photos. There was like 6 different Bidens. The one with the creepy smile, the weird eyes that had nothing to do with his normal eyes. I mean, it was just very strange, right? But just, I can't not say anything, even though I know how weird this is going to come across, because I have eyes in front of my face and I just can't ignore certain things. So when I see Fetterman looking completely different all the time, and there's just consistently 6 different types of photos of him, I have to say something. I'm sorry, I do. I don't care how weird it comes across. I have to say something because it's that crazy. Also, there were the 2 sisters actually that died with the assisted suicide. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it was really, really strange. And when I saw it, the only thought was, oh, there's going to be so much more of this. You'll see this in a lot of movies. We have seen it in movies, but it's coming up more so. These are the iconic Kessler twins, Alice and Ellen Kessler, who performed with Frank Sinatra. And they chose to end their lives at 89 by joint-assisted suicide. You're going to see more of this pushed in a lot of different ways. This was the advocacy organization called the German Society for Human Dying, the DGHS. Very weird, but they rose to fame in the 50s, and then of course went out with joint assisted suicide. So you guys remember the demise pill, the Obamacare that we still have, that no one's fighting, not even us conservatives. No one's fighting the Obamacare, and so it's interesting that there were a lot of different things involved with the Obamacare passage. Remember Nancy and the old, we have to pass it to see what's in it. Okay. And we talked about that endlessly on the show during that time, because it was kind of scary, because you didn't know where it was going to land as far as the demise, the making sure that people have access to their own demise, and then making it look kind of sexy and fun and different and take control. And then you started to see movies about it. So when I saw that, my heart sank a little bit, because I thought, wow, we're going to be, they're going to be pushing it a lot more. So I wanted you guys to be aware of that. And I know you probably are. So I'm just commenting on it because there are some mechanisms in Obamacare that talk about this kind of push to get the senior citizens to demise themselves, to take control. it's under the take control guys lie. But it's like, no, God's not in control. You are. So that's powerful, right? So you're going to see so much more of this. And it makes me sick. It makes me sick. You know, I think God decides when our time is. And I just, where we're headed with that can't be good. It just can't be good. Because I think a lot of people will be told that they chose to demise themselves, but they didn't. I think there's going to be a lot of that. And I think there's going to be this, we're going to lose our Social Security. There's too many old people on it. We got to get them off of it so we have a future. There's going to be that big push too. I don't mean to be like negative. It's just, I saw that and I went, ooh, they're really selling it as no questioning about it. These twins, these German twins. This was about sort of selling it as, look how noble. That's really kind of scary if you ask me. Sorry. Give a call back in. Sorry, I didn't grab it in time. I just thought this was crazy and wanted to bring this up because we're going to get more and more. I just have this gut feeling. And I know you do too, because you've expressed it to me actually. So, ouch. Okay. So then it's going to bring me into my main topic today, which is this next bubble. And I don't think we're really understanding this next bubble. So this is going to get really interesting and weird. And also another front man for you. All right. Google announced a $40 billion investment in Texas in the form of 3 new data centers in West Texas and the Panhandle. And I was looking at this and connecting some dots and just sort of, the picture is Bezos and Elon, all your main frontman characters, and these data centers are going up, $40 billion investment. Well, when I was looking at this, I just kind of thought, interesting that they're bringing this up. And at the same time, I don't know if you guys remember Michael Burry, right? Michael Burry was the topic of The Big Short. And his, this gets really interesting because there was some big articles on him. And by the way, I exchanged emails with him during, I think it was 2020 or 2021. We exchanged some emails and it was very interesting. He kind of wanted me to kind of keep what we said between us, and I have. And he just said that they attribute a lot of stuff to him that he doesn't do. And sometimes sometimes it's right in the headlines, but Michael Burry, obviously, it comes up with the housing crisis, right? He kind of foresaw that coming. And so, anyway, I wanted to actually kind of go there with this article about him saying sometimes the only winning move is not in play. And he said, he's arguing that companies like Microsoft and Google and Oracle and Meta invest billions of dollars in NVIDIA chips and servers, and they're extending their depreciation schedules to make earnings appear smoother. So here is Google announcing they're opening up all these data centers, right? And here's Michael Burry at the same time saying, I'm pulling some of these funds. I don't trust this. I think that they are exaggerating. And he said to such an extent that his estimates between 2026 and 2028 coming up here, right? These next 2 years, these accounting decisions could understate depreciation around $176 billion, inflating reports, these profits across the sector. And so, he has his X profile, and it's titled Cassandra Unchained, and it's seen as a nod to the Greek mythological figure cursed by Apollo, right? To utter true prophecies that no one would believe. And this appreciation in shares of companies related to AI has accounted for about 75% of the S&P 500's index performance since November 2022, when OpenAI launched ChatGPT. So according to JP Morgan, right? And so Scion, Burry's firm, ended last year with holding positions in all these different healthcare companies and such. And then he's done some pretty kind of interesting things lately with telling people, especially being out on the forefront and saying, you know what? Something's coming, and this is more like a bubble coming, and it's going to burst. And there is this definite exaggeration going on. So when I was looking at that, I thought, okay, there's some strange things here, but I do want to talk about that, and I also want to talk about Sam Altman. Okay, so a message coming in: you're a little behind the curve in Obamacare. Trump fired the first of many shots at that bill to take it down last week. Firing shots isn't taking it down, and I don't see anybody in our base really fighting to take it down. Sorry. And I don't think it will. I don't think it will. In fact, there's always going to be tough talk, but I don't think it's going to be the tough talk that people, that actually results in anything. There's been a lot of tough talk. Okay. And so then, oh, by the way, I should mention, of course, that, today's big news, right, is the files. They might be released on Epstein. I think this is going to get kind of interesting, to watch. I don't know how you guys are feeling about this, but I don't think we're ever going to get what's really happening with those papers. I think there's going to be it also is kind of a weird shift, if you will, to look and kind of see how 2 months ago it was nothing to see here, folks, and then all of a sudden now there's something to see again. I mean, I don't know what is your guys' take on the definite switcheroos that are happening. I think that's really weird, to tell you the truth, but okay. So I think they want everybody to be consumed with the Epstein files. I get a lot of messages about the Epstein files, and I think it's actually a big distraction. I don't think you're actually going to get down to what really happened. And and it's sad, but we're just not. So, and then of course in the papers today, I say papers, I mean online. Papers is so old, but Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's the traitor and so forth. So that's going to get interesting. Talking about Epstein's private parts being deformed and tiny. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff happening, and it's very, very weird. So I'll take a caller. Sure. Go ahead, caller. You're on.
Yeah. Yes. The Epstein files.
Yeah. Mm.
So we have what Trump has for months been calling a hoax. Nothing to it.
Mm-hmm.
To now saying, I need to investigate.
Right.
So what are you investigating and researching what's going on there when it doesn't exist?
Mm.
But I think one of the most important things is Massey was making a very good point the other day, and he was saying the Trump administration says they're now going to investigate, meaning anything they investigate, any evidence, any documents are sealed.
Mm-hmm.
They can't be released.
Mm-hmm.
And that could prevent virtually the entire Epstein report from being seen.
Yeah.
And it could go on for not only months, even years.
It's a good distraction.
Yeah.
Really
well, I mean, it's corruption. Mainly, but it's not. But it's just a distraction in terms. It's not the big things going on.
Right.
The big thing is they're destroying our economy.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to moving us towards tyranny everywhere, and they're murdering people everywhere. More of those boats have been bombed,
Mm-hmm.
and talking about going to war with Venezuela when they haven't raised a finger towards us.
Right.
I mean, there's so many other much bigger issues. I agree,
right.
But nevertheless, this is real corruption.
Yeah.
I mean, you either support Trump or you support the pedophiles, or you support Trump on this.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate the call. I don't know if it's to that black and white. I like I said, a lot of people are used in this game, but look, and I had an interesting conversation over the weekend about Trump. There were a lot of people that were in total support of Trump coming out and just kind of listing all the things that aren't happening and kind of realizing that maybe government only goes one way on the big items. And there's a lot of still when I see people, okay, so in this particular post, and I know this is a segue from what we're going to talk about today, but it was an interesting weekend to see the comments because, we talk a lot about this on the show. So I don't want to have that show again because we've already talked about it to death. But it's interesting because I still see the debate over Trump. And I'm like, okay, the debate over Trump, it's like Trump is the MC of the theater, that production that we're seeing. So to debate to debate that is it's like you're then stuck talking about Epstein files and what Trump's doing, or how Trump has disappointed you, or how Trump still holds your hopes and fears, or Trump. And I'm like, and Epstein. And I'm thinking these are distractions from what the deep state is actually doing with the government. This is not. We get into these little segues. It's like debating the MC, of the theater production, because the MC is there to kind of pull the show together and look like he's in charge of the show, and then kind of fill in the gaps when the show is, changing scenes and so forth. So that's the role of the president now, and it's been overtaken for a long time. And I think it's really hard to actually get that to digest that thought. Because when I see people defending, oh my gosh, they have to go to the mat for Trump. And I'm like, well, it isn't about Trump. It's about the deep state, what they're doing. So behind the scenes, the pulling of the strings, that's what it's truly about. And until we really see that as a nation, or at least a large mass group of people finally realize that, I don't know that we're going to get anywhere, because we're stuck debating. Is he doing good things? Is he doing good things without anyone knowing? Is he doing bad things? And really and truly, what happens is it's all sort of caught up in this theater production that we see every 4 to 8 years as it changes hands. And, you look at people like King Dingaling Biden, and he wasn't running the presidency. It was very obvious. Okay. Obama wasn't running the presidency. Bush wasn't running the presidency. So you go back, Reagan wasn't even running the presidency. But all of a sudden, there are people out there that go, oh, well, Trump is running every facet of it, and he's cleaning house. There is no cleaning of the house. It's not happening. So there's a lot of tough talk and there's a lot of things said, but it's not actually happening. So I guess you can get distracted by the tough talk, or you can get into conversations with people where, somebody will put him down, and then somebody will say he's everything, and then somebody puts him down, and then somebody says he's everything. And I'm like, but you're missing the whole point. The whole point is that he is the master of ceremonies. He's not in this role to gut government, to gut the deep state, or to make huge changes. He's there to facilitate what the deep state wants, because they're in control, I think, of what he does, what he actually does. Maybe not all the things he talks about, but what actually happens. I think they're very much in control of this, just like they've been doing this under other presidents as well. So, and I know that's hard to take in. I know it's hard for a lot of people, it's hard to contemplate that. But I truly believe that, because you have to go back, and history is the witness here. Okay. My proof is in history. And I want you to look at all the things said and then all the things done in each presidency. And we've only moved forward one way. Sometimes you like the person that's the MC, sometimes you don't. But the deep state does what the deep state wants. So with that being said, I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it, but I 100% believe that's true. That it is not just like the Epstein papers that we've been debating now for 10 years. It is not going to. Even the tough talk isn't going to get us where we want with liberty back. The same government that steals liberty is not in the business of giving it back. So they steal it for a reason and they hang on to it. They're not there to make you more free, as much as we want to believe it. So that's all. I mean, what else can I say, right? And I know it's hard. All right. Same as it ever was. Yes. Getting a text in. Yes. Same as it ever was. For over 100 years, very much this way. I was reviewing the miniseries on which president, Garfield, and Garfield was taken out 3 months after he got in, and he wanted the gold standard and all of those things. It was the late 1800s. And you could see how somebody could still kind of get in, right, without going through the proper deep state channels or having it be completely controlled. And so then it was controlled after the 1900s started. And they had Colonel House as the sort of CIA handler at the time. In the backdrop, kind of like a Cheney behind Bush, kind of like, the deep state behind Obama, okay, or any president, pick a president, in the last 100 years. But it was interesting how he got taken out, Warren Harding got taken out, and several of those that actually, there were some things that were really good that they wanted to do, and taken out during the presidency. So I think that it's always been controlled, but not to the tune until we hit the 1900s, and then it was completely controlled. And then 1960s, it was like, it was very obvious who was controlling it. So that's where the intelligence factors came in to control the White House. So there you go. So let's talk about this kind of in a broader way, because I think this is kind of interesting about Sam Altman. He comes up in some of this because he is the new face of OpenAI, is he not? So let's raise some questions about him, and let's talk a little bit more about what's actually going on with why is Google, Google's building these data centers. They're inflating, they're making it look like the data centers, the water usage, everything, because that's going to go through the roof. Why? Because they want to be able to price you out of your home, to be able to get those energy bills high and have a reason to do it. Well, what's the reason? Well, the scapegoat is the data centers. Okay. So we've talked about this on the show before, and the data centers seem to be the escape route, the scapegoat, I should say, as far as why you're going to be paying these higher prices. So is the inflation real? Michael Burry was alluding to this, and so I do want to talk about this. First, though, I want to talk about World War II for just a second. And this comes to us from Seven Seas, and I thought this was really good. I wanted to relay this to you. During World War II, the United States worked with Britain to develop technology to send wireless signals across airwaves via radio microwaves, right? So Vannevar Bush, MIT, Raytheon, Olive Carnegie of the National Defense Research Committee, they still, I think, swear that he had nothing to do with the Bush family as we know it, but I'm pretty sure that there were some connections there. But okay, he was of the National Defense Research Committee. This was back in World War II, and he collaborated with Henry Tizard, who was Churchill, Royal Institution, Oxford, Fellow of Royal Society, all of those. Okay, so it was the Tizard mission to make this happen. But there was a meeting that happened in 1940, and the Americans described Loomis from MIT and Compton's MIT microwave research. So this was back in 1940. Okay. So during World War II, and they had this experimental 10 centimeter wavelength shortwave radar, but admitted that it did not have enough power and that they were at a dead end. So Taffy Bowen and John Cockcraft of the Tizard mission, okay, this Tizard guy from the Royal Institution, from the Royal Society, produced a cavity magnetron, a device more advanced than anything that we had ever seen over in this country, with a power output of around 10 kilowatts at 10 centimeters and enough, 10 cm, enough to spot the periscope of a surfaced submarine at night from an aircraft. So to exploit the invention, Bush decided to create a special laboratory, Vannevar Bush, right? The NDRC allocated this new laboratory a budget of $455,000 for its first year, a lot of money back in 1940. Loomis suggested that the lab should be run by the Carnegie Institution. Now, we all know the Carnegie Institution was there to ruin our education department, or not department at the time, but education as a whole, right? They were there to kind of capture it. The Carnegie Institution, the notes from, I think it was 1908 or 1910 came out and talked about how they were going to replace education as we know it with their form of education. ousting the Constitution and all that. That's the Carnegie Institution, okay? One of the things that they did. But so Bush convinced him that it would be best run by MIT. So the Radiation Laboratory, MIT's RAD lab, as it came to be known, tested its airborne radar from an Army B-18 on March 27, 1941. By mid-1941, it had developed SCR 584 radar, a mobile radar fire control system for anti-aircraft guns. What they're not going to tell you is that this microwave radiation technology would go on to cause the poisoning of countless people, creating things like the Havana syndrome and creating most of the symptoms that they purport to be SARS, right, is used worldwide today. They use their position in the FDR administration to selectively elevate this technology through the first known venture capital firm created by Vannevar Bush, Carl Taylor Compton, all kinds of people, Merrill Griswold, to seed fund the HVEC company that was started by Donald Trump's uncle, John G. Trump, and it was mentored by both Bush and Compton during this tenure at MIT. Okay, so then we see the same methodology applied today to VC firms like BlackRock, Kleiner Perkins. Kleiner Perkins, you'll know Al Gore, right, and was heavily funded through Kleiner Perkins, right, to bring us the climate lie. Okay, we were all supposed to be dead, fried on the sidewalk by 2013. Remember that? They're still selling that in education today, by the way. And Sequoia. So BlackRock, Kleiner Perkins, Sequoia, to create this illusion of a free market. So in reality, the technology and businesses that are elevated to mainstream relevance enough to have a market share now was almost always seed funded by the same interests. Okay. Now we just call them CIA fronts. Well, their ability to press infinite thumbs on a scale due to their capital fostered by this adoption and regulation of these companies. And of course, they own the company. They basically direct the company, but they try to make it look private. So technology and business. Okay. So basically, this system, okay, because they have to control the paradigm, right? So the system became an autonomous, once Sun Microsystems, now called Oracle, partnered with mostly DARPA, the CIA, and Mossad to create BlackRock's Aladdin via Charles Halleck of Barclays from Israel, and then Bennett Golub, who was from the board of Global Association Risk Professionals, all kinds of different places. Anyway, all these early participants, Bill Joy of DARPA, and then you have all these different people, right? Kind of coming together. You have Vinod Khosla from Kleiner Perkins, Carnegie Mellon. These are all the names that keep jumping out, right? Stanford, Daisy Systems, OpenAI, Eric Schmidt, Google, Apple, okay, Mayo Clinic, you name it, Schmidt Futures, all kinds of, I mean, I could go on and on. Scott McNeely, he comes from Mitt Romney, from American Motors, CEO of Sun for over 20 years. To facilitate the sale to Larry Ellison's Oracle, right, which is all CIA funded as well and CIA controlled, Fortune 500 companies. So they're not actually real. They don't start in garages with entrepreneurs. They start with these types of investments and government contracts. And they've been doing this for 80 to 90 years at this point. All right. And prior to the venture capital model existing, you had family dynasty funds like Rockefeller, like Carnegie, like Ford. Okay. And they also push things through their so-called nonprofits, okay, which weren't really nonprofits. And before that, it was the royalty. It was the banks, the kings, okay? So the names change, but the game remains the same. And that is so, so true. So when I look at Elon Musk and I see his first company was Zip2, okay, and this was a software company, and it provided online city guides for newspapers, okay, which sold to Compaq in 1999 for $307 million. And because of that money that was exchanged for the sole purpose, I think, of being exchanged, they could show where he became an entrepreneur by selling Zip2 And then he came up and co-founded, X.com and PayPal and all of these. Now he owns, X Twitter, right? But also the satellite company, you name it. Okay. So all of this was done. It was co-founded in 95. And then the software company helped newspapers create online content and directories. Is that worth $307 million? Well, what did Compaq do with it when they bought it? Nothing. They sat on it. They did nothing with it. So they paid a $307 million to sit on it and absolutely do nothing with it. Why? Because it was so valuable? All right. So we know that none of this makes sense, only maybe to provide Elon a backstory as to make him look like a true entrepreneur. Okay. So let's jump into Sam Altman for just a moment, because I don't know if people are suspecting this with him, but it reads the same, which is really, it's actually kind of funny when you think about this, because the stories are very, very, very similar. Okay, very similar. So here we go. So like Bill Gates and like Steve Jobs and like Zuckerberg and like Musk and Ellison and Bezos, okay, Altman kind of has the same background, no particular skills, came out of nowhere, and is now funded by all this mystery, okay? And so I don't think they want people really looking at him, really looking at this story, even though you've got news stories like Google investing all this money into data centers, and all of this is because of OpenAI, right? And Larry Ellison. And remember when Trump got in, that one of the first things was to promote Larry Ellison in the middle of all this, in these big projects. Well, we're told Altman dropped out of Stanford at age 19 and founded Loopy Looped in 2005, and that he raised 30 million in venture capital. Now this comes from Miles. I thought it was I had already done some research on this, so I'll kind of give you both his research and my research on this, because I thought he did a good job too. Raising 30 million in venture capital for a location sharing service on your phone. Now, this had already been invented. Okay, it was invented in the 90s. They had this technology, and then it was also invented a year before this in 2004. So what's kind of fascinating is that they said that Sam Altman's company did this tracking on your phone, but honestly, Qualcomm 2004 carried this GPS, so it wasn't invented by Sam Altman, but it looks like it is. It looks like it is. Okay. So he gets $30 million as this young kid who's never done anything. Sound familiar? Like Mark Zuckerberg, like so many others, like Bill Gates. Okay. So he founds Loopy Looped in 2005, raises 30 million in venture capital for a location sharing service. And then we're told that he invented this app. And he's gay. He's got these college buddies, right? And this came out of Mountain View, same place Steve Jobs came out of. Okay. And a better assumption would be that it came out of their engineering department, or better yet, kind of like the personal home computer came out of the Air Force Intelligence. So Bill Gates did not invent it, even though that's kind of the story this, today, didn't invent it, but now it's going to look like he did. So Altman is kind of the face for all of this. And so he invents this sharing location thing, and tracking was basically one of their initial functions. And I do agree with that. It was something that was one of the reasons why we all have a cell phone in our hand today and why it's so alluring. But so DARPA, In-Q-Tel, are they behind the project? Are they behind arranging the funding? Because how does a college dropout with nothing else to his name, okay, raise $30 million? How's that happen? So we're told that Altman's dad was a real estate broker, but they don't usually have the connections to raise $30 million, right? For the son that hasn't ever done anything or proven himself. You guys are probably, many of you have gone into business. You guys know how hard it is, how many struggles there are. And even to get a venture firm to even look at you or even get any investment at all, even from a bank, very difficult. You have to prove yourself. Well, not in this case. So does he have a whole lot of other super genius ideas since this was super genius in 2005 is what they're telling us? No, nothing. Nope, not really. Not really. So funding for Looped came from X Fund, which is a spinoff of Accel, ACCEL, which funded Facebook in the beginning. That's a coincidence. And today, then we're told in March 2012, it didn't gain any significant user traction. Wasn't very popular amongst people. So the company was then acquired by Green Dot Corporation for $43 million. Okay. So then we're supposed to believe that it took Looped 7 years to fail. Okay. Though it was apparently worthless from the start. So his bio is very blank except for Looped. Okay. So then he runs this company. Okay. Green Dot, by the way, is run by a guy who just looks like he never ages. The guy looks like he's 30. It's very weird. He's in his 60s, I guess. But he was also a member of the Federal Reserve out of San Francisco, Los Angeles. So that's Green Dot. Okay. And Green Dot buys it for this 43 million, but you're buying something that's sinking. It doesn't make any sense, right? It's not gaining significant user traction. So you throw $43 million at it. Okay. And then it said that he invested 10 million of his own money and started into this initial fund of the Y Combinator research and announced this YC Continuity, this fund to invest in maturing YC companies. Not sure where the 10 million came from, but Looped must have lost far more than $43 million over 7 years. So it wasn't a winner of a company. That wouldn't even cover their debts. So you would think that the investors would not want to be around him, right? The investors are like, oh, you're done. The only, one and done. And the only thing you can come up with is not much. Okay. His boyfriend, his gay boyfriend, he's nowhere to be found. Like no one knows anything about him. There's no bio whatsoever, which is really, and these are supposed to be boy geniuses. Okay. So then, he kind of comes on in, there's different capital companies they say he gets invested with. Nothing really works out. But then all of a sudden, after COVID, after Blovid, OpenAI begins hitting the news cycles, right? And these are the guys that are behind ChatGPT, and it hits the news cycles hard in 2022. Now everyone's heard Sam Altman's name. Okay. So OpenAI was initially funded as a nonprofit organization by Altman, a nonprofit. And Elon Musk, Greg Brockman, Jessica Livingston, Peter Thiel, his name always comes up, Microsoft, he's a very busy dude, Amazon Web Services, YC Research. It's this nonprofit coming out from all of this. And it's a lot of your players on the scene that seem to also be frontmen too. So OpenAI launches in 2015. It raises pledges for $1 billion. In 2019, it stated that 130 million of these pledged funds had been collected. So pledged funds, interesting. Okay. And then it grew to be this $1 billion company. And then despite this crashing failure, okay, Altman and OpenAI were promoted to the skies by everyone, with Time Magazine voting him as the most influential person of 2023. Did he invent ChatGPT? Nope. Okay, so it's a little weird. a little strange. So this most influential dude of 2023 was fired in November of that year. And then the CIA arranges for his rehiring by canceling equity from any employees who moved to Microsoft and didn't sign an open letter demanding Altman come back. It was very weird. And you can't just cancel equity. Okay. So it should have killed any confidence in OpenAI. Since everyone in the corporation looks a little weird, including Altman, but somehow it didn't matter. And so a little more proof possibly that this was all financed by the CIA. And I'll say allegedly, okay? I'll say allegedly, why not? I think you guys can kind of see where I'm going with this. This is really not a backstory that you can actually track where it makes sense. Same with Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg's given a ton of money. Of course, it's always a college student, which is kind of funny. It's never a 40-year-old that's been through the entrepreneur rings. Oh no, it's some person that just kind of is a boy genius at never a girl, kind of weird, but boy genius, right? Right in college, and everyone is willing to flood millions of dollars their way. Does that make sense to you guys? For any of you that have started a business, does that remotely make sense? So I bring this to you because I think there's so many of these. And when we get somebody that's talked about endlessly in the press, and then all of a sudden, like Michael Burry saying, I think they're overinflating this whole tech thing. I think that there's something wrong with these numbers. Okay. And having email correspondence with him personally, Michael Burry, I can tell you that he's kind of on the spectrum. He is, we had some great correspondence. He wrote pretty long correspondences to explain things, because I was questioning about the movie The Big Short. At the end, it said he was investing in water, and he said he wasn't at the time, but they wanted to say that about him. And it was just kind of getting to know him. I mean, I really don't think he's going to come out in the press and say things actually unless he means them. But I did find it kind of weird when he was sort of articulating the fact that this is a huge bubble. I don't trust this at all. So I did think that was a little crazy. I don't know if you guys do, but at the same time that Google's telling us that they're putting all this money into more tech centers. I have a center coming into Delta, Utah, which is in southern Utah, and people are angry about it, right? We have a lot of things coming into Utah. We also have what the governor called a project. I can't remember the name of it, Project Gigawatt or something. Why would you name it a project when you're bringing in nuclear into Brigham City, Utah, but they're calling it a project like the CIA calls projects, kind of weird. Anyway, we have a lot of stuff happening in Utah. There's a lot of stuff happening in Texas. And then you have this Sam Altman, this, Peter Thiel is gay. Sam Altman is gay. I have a feeling many of them are, or bisexual. That seems to be sort of a prevailing thing amongst a lot of these kinds of people, a lot of these individuals. And they also have a certain ethnic background. I'm just saying that there's just so many similarities when it comes to this profile. Kind of like there's a picture of Sam Altman with his college buddies. And, no one ever, so whatever happens to all the buddies, whatever happens to this little group of boy geniuses, no one can say. There's just nothing there. It's like a blank canvas. Nothing's there. So looking at all this, kind of studying through all of this, I have to say that I really do question who Sam Altman really is. Just like I question the guy that owns Green Dot. It's weird. And there's some people out there saying that is also a CIA front. There's a lot of CIA fronts when it comes to money. But this with OpenAI, Zero Hedge had done an article, and they had admitted that the company has only 13 billion in revenue, OpenAI, but 1.4 trillion in commitments, debt. Now, think about that for just a moment. OpenAI, so Zero Hedge does an article, and they admit that the company only has 13 billion in revenue. Don't you think that's pretty low? My gosh, look what they paid for a stupid tracking app that they said was just merely invented in 2005. Interesting. Okay, so it's a 13 OpenAI. When you think it would be worth more? Okay, so 13 billion in revenue, but 1.4 trillion in commitments. Then CFO Sarah Frier admits that the U.S. government is backstopping this financing. Backstopping. Okay. Meaning that you, the taxpayer, are guaranteeing the debt. Strange. And that, and this is what Trump meant when he said that the government was investing in AI and data centers and so on. So you, the taxpayer, are on the hook for it. It's not really an investment. It's more about control, and they own it, would be the truth here. Okay. And are they facilitating these high numbers? As one of the things would be to guarantee that our utilities are going to only go up. So that's kind of interesting. Because you have to have a reason, got to have a scapegoat for that. That's just one of the things. It's not the big banana, but it's like one of the things. Okay. And so we're not really investing in AI since you don't have a piece of the action as an investor would. You just get to pay the bill. So if a horse wins, you get nothing. You know, if a horse loses, you pay the man, right? So, you know, it's kind of interesting. So Frier explains, and that's the CEO of OpenAI, federal loan guarantees would really drop the cost of financing to a company with only 13 billion in revenue and 1.4 trillion in commitments, debt. Lots of debt in this company. So, you know, has a 1 trillion valuation, 1.4 trillion in commitments, she said. And then, of course, it's loaded up to the gills with government backstopped debt. So Enron, Lehman Brothers, interesting, just kind of reminds me of those companies. So just sharing this with you, but I did think this was crazy. I really thought this was nuts. October 27th, OpenAI's Chief Global Affairs Officer, Chris Lahane, if I'm saying that right, had submitted a document in which they advocated for including data center spend with the American manufacturing umbrella. So then President Trump confirmed from the other end, saying it was a great idea and that there is no chance that this will not happen since OpenAI crashes before the government can build the mattress. So Operation Stargate comes to mind. It was announced on day 2 of his presidency. That's where Larry Ellison took the stage with Oracle, the CIA front. And so you've got Altman and Ellison at his side, right? They were on stage. Didn't say a lot, but they were on stage. And we were told that they didn't, like, Altman didn't say a lot because Altman is a little autistic. Okay. We're told that this would be funded by the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. I don't think so. As with the Apollo program, it was declared as an international emergency to bypass all the regulation and Congress and funding with that boondoggle. And so then they had a press release and it was updated, and the UAE, sorry, the United Emirates, being dropped, and is now being admitted that the U.S. will be funding this to the tune of $500 billion between now and 2029 in the next 3 years. So, on August 7th, Bloomberg, that's like a CIA front controlled media, reported that the project had not started. No funds were raised to meet the project's initial $500 billion budget. There was a lot of market uncertainty. American trade policy, AI hardware valuations caused the delay. So no updates since then, and other than claims that it's all moving forward on schedule and you're footing the bill as an investment, you, the taxpayer. So confidence is high, and the delay is just maybe due to the people writing the script. Who knows, right? Maybe they forgot to tell you about all the private funding for this. But we'll be paying for it. So this is going to get interesting. And then Zero Hedge also admitted that OpenAI is pursuing subsidies without admitting that they were covertly been subsidized from the beginning. So this is why the whole Peter Thiel thing. Now, Peter Thiel and our Vice President Vance are really chummy, really chummy. And as you know, there was the In-Q-Tel, Excel, Palantir, and they're back channel funded by the government. And then you have CIA and all these other entities. You have Apple, Google, Microsoft, Oracle, you name it. And it kind of goes back to the same game being played World War II. And before that, the kings. And before that, anyone in power could play this shell company game and fake later payouts, maybe look at, maybe have it look private. Yeah. So Zero Hedge actually said, but here's the thing, go ahead and politely ask for government guarantees, backstops, or bailouts, whatever you want to call it. This is Zero Hedge. But be prepared to compensate the government by handing over a sizable chunk of equity so that everyone can participate in the upside and not just be stuck with soaring electricity and water bills, which are needed to fund the explosion of the data centers across the nation. So what will it solve? The last thing you want is equity in this loser. So do you want equity on vapor? So robots stealing the jobs, drinking all your water and electricity, and that's the future you want to invest in. So there's a lot here to unpack, and I'm kind of going through it rather quickly, but I think Altman is, I actually agree with Miles on this. He's trying to fool you into going along with this, promising you a guaranteed basic income paid for by AI profits so that the universal income model gets paid for by AI. So what are they doing? They're ratcheting up AI to make it look like it's extremely profitable. That's where the money's going to come from. So people don't squeal about it and say Marxism and socialism and all the rest, right? And and then you see that this profit AI will come from basically taking over, raping the treasury. So if you have no private income, you can't be taxed, since that would be circular. So the treasury will dry up maybe. And then since they have destroyed the middle class, then the rise of AI will vastly accelerate that. Is that the plan? President Trump was telling us that we'd be building and not just big, expensive data centers. And I still want them to explain the data centers, because I have a lot of questions about the data and the data centers, and you need these big centers. And of course, doubling our number of power generators, and, what is that running on? And of course, the announcement of nuclear being brought into Brigham City. That was kind of an interesting point in the middle of researching all of this and looking at this. So fake generators supplying fake data centers. The money will be coming right from you. The government is planning to lend hundreds of billions of dollars for this. So if not $1 trillion, and then we're just told that we might not be able to lend billions of dollars from the Treasury, right? And Congress, where is their job in this? Aren't they in charge of spending? So it's going to get kind of interesting here. There was also another article: data centers in NVIDIA's hometown stand empty, awaiting power. Why are they standing empty, awaiting power? Don't we need them? Don't they need them for AI? And they've soft rolled this ChatGPT, which they have a lot more capability than that, probably 50 years worth more of capability than they're showing us anyway. But I think people are kind of prepared. I think they're actually taking it in and saying, "Oh yeah, these data centers for AI, and it's okay. Our electricity is going to go way up." See, you're starting to see policies change and regulations come in counties. This is where you try to stop it, is in your counties, because it's going to be harder on a national scale. But if you can flip 3,000 plus counties, you could do it. Just like with anything, if you want to solve the election problem, you go to county level and you try to make some headway there and have enough of the citizens concerned that they are almost forced to do ballot counting instead of using the machines. On this, we really have to, instead of just accepting this, desiring more explanations coming from the government, instead of just saying, oh, it's a data center. Okay, how exactly is this a data center? What exact data are they actually doing in there? How many machines are in there? What does it actually take to do this? Because I think we're getting lied to a lot about what they're doing with the data centers. And then do the data centers become little prison areas? Just a thought. I don't mean it to be a dark thought. It kind of is, but I'm trying to think ahead, because if we're going to sanction and not question these centers being built and this whole open AI thing, and we're not really going to question what's behind it or what's happening and what's going on, especially as they're telling us all these new data centers are being built, right? And we're paying for this. Okay. Are we paying for our own imprisonment? That's my question today. That's my question for you. I don't know. We can't cover 42 million people on food stamps, right? The government's way past broke. So what are we doing? What are we doing with this? And why would this be the most important thing? Have you guys ever questioned that? I mean, everyone says it's the way of the future, but don't you find that kind of strange? I mean, wouldn't you, before you add the new couches and the new table, don't you kind of need to maybe even clean up the house a little bit, or scale whether or not you can afford that? So why is OpenAI and all of this nonsense going full steam ahead in a time when we need to be getting out of debt, right? Doesn't make any sense. But everybody's taking it as if, yes, it's being rolled out, and it's being rolled out to the tune of it has to happen today and tomorrow, and it's going to grow, and it's going to take your job. So why aren't the people stopping this? Why isn't there more concern? Why aren't the politicians saying anything about it? I find that so weird that they're not saying a word about it. They're not even questioning it, you guys. That's weird. Something's wrong. Something is really, really wrong with this. So we're going to be paying top dollar. It better be real. And there better actually be a really good reason for this. And we should question it, because it would be really highly illegal to use us as investors in a project right now. Right? Our tax money as an investment into AI, something's really wrong. So I don't know. It's strange. But I want to kind of give you a little bit of that to kind of chew on. They're always autistic geniuses. Reminds me of Stephen Hawking. That's a comment coming in. I have to agree with you. Looking at the pattern, Bill Gates, Zuckerberg, Zuckerberg calling himself a robot, all kinds of, there's a little bit of a pattern, and there's a pattern of it always being somebody that is like between the age of 19 and 22, who is a boy genius, yet you can't actually clarify the boy genius part, because they never really have run a business. They never really have invented anything. They've never really done anything except expressed interest in something. That doesn't make a boy genius. So what's really going on? Okay. So that's why I call them the front men. Bezos was on the Tonight Show back in the 90s for having a failed business, a failed book business. You guys remember that? Why was he on the Tonight Show for that? It didn't make any sense. You and I fail in a business, we're not going to be asked to be a guest on the Tonight Show. We're not going to be on Time Magazine. Isn't it interesting that all these people appear on Time as selling us who is the boy genius and who is the most influential? There was something kind of weird about Elon, and most people will chalk it up to being eccentric. But I did think it was kind of strange, because it was It was Musk's former partner, Grimes, saying how she recalled staying in a $40,000 house. He wouldn't even go buy a new mattress. It had a hole in it. They had a 375 square foot house in the southern tip of Texas. It was very, very tiny. Tesla earns about $7 billion a year. We're supposed to believe that Musk is already worth $460 billion. Now, I guess people could be eccentric. That could happen. But don't you think that's a little excessive in being eccentric? I mean, that's weird. Okay. This is it's kind of strange. And so my question was, does he really have the money? You know, when you're a front man, do you really have it? You're paraded around as a genius, but is it really yours? Just a question that came up for me. I just thought it was really kind of weird. Yeah. And then, of course, Musk has been talking about the Optimus robots, which have not gone into mass production yet, and the future of the company and of humanity, the biggest product of all time. He's suggesting that you could use it for healthcare to prisons. You now get a free Optimus. It just have to follow you around, stop you from doing crime, right? So the government's getting their way. They are creating things that will be even more eavesdropping, even more spying, even more telling you what to do, control. Okay. But I did find this kind of interesting because I saw the Russians were rolling out this kind of like android robot, and it stumbled and it barely hit it hit the front of the stage, right? And it stumbled and they had to go after it. And my first thought was, I don't believe this. You know, I know that they have technology that's probably 50 years ahead, and I don't believe it. I don't believe that it's almost like they're causing the robot to stumble to show us that, oh, we just have so much work to do and so much more money is needed in these companies. But I think it's already there. I think that there's been money and trillions siphoned off and missing for a long time. And that money has gone into technology that we would be upset over if we knew that the government had. So I know that this is a lot to unpack. How else do I say it, right? I think you've got another front man here. Nothing that Altman ever did or has done since has really equated into boy genius. He was called a boy genius. We were told he was at this age of 19. But main investors are not going to just, froth over somebody who doesn't have any kind of track record whatsoever. Okay. And none of his buddies did anything worth mentioning after this. Okay. But suddenly the money comes in, and it comes in a pretty big amount. Okay. For the funding to showcase, to have something that they can show in the press as to where he got his money and where he got his background, as far as being the guy standing on stage, Operation Stargate, right, with Trump, saying this is the guy representing AI. This mealy mouth, little wussy guy, kind of like Bill Gates, right? This is the dude that we're supposed to believe is Boy Wonder. Is it all a front? Well, it could be. It could be. Yeah. So there's that. And I just had to relay that to you today. I just thought it was so strange. I'll probably take a few calls, of course, 435-680-2503, 435-680-2503. But I did think this information was a little nutty. Because it doesn't really ever check out. Like, it's all valuations. And I think Michael Burry's onto something. I think that there is something very wonky going on here. The public isn't being told about any of it, of course. We're getting sold on data centers moving forward. So we think everything is moving forward and all built on truth. Yet I don't see it being built on truth, if you ask me. I see a lot of debt. I don't see a lot of truth here. And that's kind of sketchy. So you can do with this what you want, but I did think it was, there was really nothing to point that Altman really can do anything other than maybe stand up on the stage and talk a decent game, not even a good game because he doesn't talk a lot, right? There's not a whole lot coming from him. But do I think people can be eccentric? Yes. Do I think there are people that can be genius? Oh, sure. But why do they always have the same kind of MO, the same kind of story? That part doesn't really make sense at all, does it to you guys? All right, I'll take a caller real quick. Hi, caller. Welcome to the show. Go right ahead.
Yeah, good show today, Kate,
Thanks.
on all of this. Yes. In fact, when it comes to mind, I keep hearing that word billionaire thrown out there.
Mhm.
This billionaire, multi-billionaire.
Right.
And I started to doubt that, kind of like you are with Altman and these big chosen ones.
Mhm.
They're chosen to be designated as,
Yeah.
like you say, these big geniuses and whatnot.
Mhm.
And a Bible quote, know them by their fruits.
Oh,
And you're asking, what have they demonstrated that we should give them this glory?
yes.
And
yes.
Exactly. The other reason I called you,
Mhm.
I don't know what your
Mhm.
agenda is tomorrow, but you're on 3 days this week?
Yes. Today,
Okay.
tomorrow, and Thursday. Yes.
Okay, that's right, Thursday. Okay. So you're on 4 days a week now, or which day do you skip?
Well, mostly 3 days a week. Sometimes I'll throw in a fourth. Kind of depends what's happening the next week.
Okay.
yeah.
Are you doing Thursday because of John F. Kennedy?
I'm doing Thursday just because because yesterday was missed, so I'm pulling I'm doing a Thursday show. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Mhm.
I did want to know about that. It would be a good
Mhm.
day to call you or listen in on
Sure.
the JFK week,
Mhm.
the 62nd anniversary
Yeah.
of when I'm going to just say it right now. Did you read the book Final Judgment,
I
or
have
did
not.
you get a copy of it?
I have
Okay.
not read it yet.
Okay, that's good. A lot of their information is getting out there. I even
Mhm.
see Nick Fuentes has put some of that out there.
Interesting.
He didn't give full credit, but the
Mhm.
point is that Final Judgment came out in 1996,
Mhm.
and Mark Lane was on that trail himself. The great Mark Lane that wrote Rush to
Mhm.
Judgment in the
Mhm.
late 60s, exposing the CIA's role in the killing of Kennedy.
Right.
But his colleague Michael Collins Piper, what Mark Lane said, and this is big because he said Mr. Piper has penned the tail on the donkey with the book Final Judgment.
Mhm.
And basically, I'll just let you go here in a sec. But the fact is, people kept saying, "Oh, they're going to release the names and they'll all come out and they'll release the Kennedy files when they're all dead and gone." That's not what they're trying to protect. Those people are all dead and gone, Kate.
Mhm.
They're trying to protect the narrative, because just like Epstein, when you find out where this leads to,
Mhm.
and that country in the Middle East that says are our greatest ally,
Mhm.
when it comes right down there,
Right.
you'll see who Jack Rubenstein was really working for,
Mhm.
and you'll see who Jez Angleton was working for at the Israeli desk of the CIA.
Mhm.
You'll see why they killed that CIA agent at the time, Underhill, for claiming that it's not the CIA that killed John F. Kennedy. It was a small clique within. And that small clique within had their boy ready to go, LBJ,
Mhm.
who
Yep.
Golda Meir once called our little Texas friend. So
Mhm.
I'm throwing a few tidbits out there for the
Mhm.
folks, but they can go to Final
Okay.
Judgment and read what Piper has to say. And I hope to talk
Thank
to you
you.
about it later some
You
more
got
this
it.
week.
Thank you.
Hey,
All
thank
right.
you, Kate.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there, isn't it? And we certainly haven't, the government has not, after a lot of tough talk, we sure haven't gotten anything on that really to speak of, have we? And so it goes all the time. And, I know that people say, when you say you like Trump, how can you like Trump? Well, because, it's like kind of like I like Reagan. I didn't mind Reagan. I liked Reagan. Do I like Trump? Sure. It doesn't matter whether I like him or not. If you're having that conversation, you're having the wrong conversation. It's not about that. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. What matters is what is actually being done right now and what we're being lied to about. That's what matters. And there's a lot of catalysts, a lot of politicians, a lot of MCs, a lot, that drive the show forward. Okay. And sometimes they might not even know they're part of it. But they are very much part of this. And the thing is when you get stuck on debating what Trump is doing or not doing, it just doesn't matter. It just really doesn't matter, because look at the proof. I can go back and look. Even in his first term, we had the distractions of Russiagate, okay, to being pulled off of like getting rid of the deep state because that had to be attributed to, okay? So it's things like that you go back and you look at and you go, oh my gosh, what a circus that was. It was meant to be a circus. It was meant to be a distraction, a production, because then you have to have plausible deniability as to why certain things could not happen. Well, you go, well, Russiagate. The deep state was after him. The deep state wanted to get rid of him. If the deep state wanted to get rid of him, and I hearken back to Kennedy, you would have. They would have. So you have to kind of look at the show as being the show. And then all of a sudden things start to kind of make sense finally. Okay, caller, go right ahead.
Greetings, Kate.
Hi
Just
there.
A couple of things.
Sure.
Hey, just a few things that kind of tie into what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Memphis, they kind of let it slip on the news
Mhm.
yesterday that they announced that the Shelby County government could not make payroll for their employees for the rest of the year.
Wow.
And they said with the cost of the federal agencies and the National Guard adding up, they hope that the property taxes would be paid over the next 3 months by the homeowners. Well, surprise, all you people out there that thought that Trump was going to pay for this gig or it would be federal, negative. Oh, and here's another little bit of information. Most of the ICE agents, they're not really ICE agents. They're contractors hired to pose as ICE. They're former bad actor cops that basically got fired because their cities got sued when they killed somebody.
Hmm.
So you got a goon squad out. Yeah, I've got text.
Yes.
Anyway, these goons are out there hoping that at the end of the road they're going to get the $50,000 that Trump promised, but there's questions about whether they're actually going to get that or not, because if they're being pursued by international forces that
Mhm.
see, these people are in violation of so many international laws right now.
Right.
It's not even funny. And just yesterday, a magistrate, a state, not federal,
Mhm.
state magistrate in Nashville, Tennessee, ruled that it's illegal, unconstitutional
Right.
for the National Guard to be in Memphis right now. That the governor had nothing to do with it. His radio
Mhm.
talk show host Todd Starnes, who picked up the phone and called Trump and said, why we need a National Guard here like you're doing in D.C.
Mhm.
And because the guy's scared of his shadow and he wants to protect her. Well, guess what? All the people in Memphis, Shelby County, you get to pay for this guy's, faux pas. But guess what? They've changed the narrative. No longer do they mention Todd Starnes pulled the trigger. No longer are the governor opposed it. Every
Mhm.
county and city mayor opposed it. Nobody wanted it. But
Yeah.
Todd Starnes. Everybody needs to send their tax forms to him. Say, yeah, you can pay our check.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate the call. A lot of info, and we might be seeing that happen more and more. Thank you. Sadly, for sure. Well, okay. By the way, I do have to mention this too. The Apple phone, right? iPhone launched the TSA ready digital ID for domestic travel. Now, by the way, we said back in 2020 and 2021 that it was already being built by the airlines, that it was already ready to go. So Apple doing this, you could look on the apps for the airlines and it was already there for digital ID, for health ID, for domestic. So this is for domestic travel, this digital ID. You could see it for international travel with the airlines in their apps. But now Apple launches the TSA ready digital ID for domestic travel. And then also at the COP30, was it Brazil? The country signed this first ever declaration to control info on climate. So that's kind of an interesting one too. You can actually go to the New American for those two articles. But I just in kind of looking at the headlines, and I was looking more at this tech stuff because it's been in the headlines so much, and I had been looking at it for quite a while and kind of piecing things together. Boy, oh boy, you guys, I think we're going to be lied to a lot as far as what we're going to be paying for. And I don't know. I do wonder if we're sanctioning these data centers that don't really need to hold a lot of data, that they're not really for data, that could be for something else. Just saying. So there's that. By the way, big sales going on allfamilypharma.com. So allfamilypharma.com, allfamilypharmacy, sorry, the whole word, allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. This is their big sale coming up here. Make sure that you take advantage of that. It's 2 for 1 and it's really a good one. And they only do it, I think, once a year, twice a year. But it's great. So you're going to want to take advantage of that. And then, put in the code Kate for sure. That's how you heard about it, to get those special deals. But I think there's going to come a time when you won't be able to get ivermectin. You won't be able to get certain things. And I would just make sure you have it under your roof. And of course, try Cardio Miracle, cardiomiracle.com/Kate. I cannot say enough good things about this product. I am so loving this product. You need minerals in your body. I have friends facing diseases, cancers, all kinds of things right now. And in our age bracket and older, oh my gosh, it's bad. This is when you kind of fall apart. So if we're falling apart, we need minerals more than ever. And this is that channel for minerals to get into your body. Cardiomiracle.com/Kate. You can try it with, it's so worth it, you guys. You can try it even, it's got a money back guarantee. So why are you not trying it? I would 100% try this product because you'll see what I see in this. Also, My Pillow has a lot of sales going on for Christmas right now, and My Pillow and sheets and things like that. Use the code word Kate. Also, the remineralizing products for your teeth. These are great Christmas presents. If you don't know what to get somebody in your life, oh my gosh, get them a little kit for remineralizing their teeth. They're going to love it because it's useful and everyone needs to do it. I had some good shows on that. And man, we have such a need to remineralize our teeth. So, all right, caller, go right ahead.
Kate, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Go right ahead.
Good. I need to remineralize my teeth.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Big time. Say, these names are so funny. These lizards come up with like alt man.
Yeah, I know.
Alternative man, right? With his alternative lifestyle. And it makes me think of like Bernie Madoff, who made off with people's money with that Ponzi scheme. And Sam Bankman-Fried, like with the crypto thing, trying to free us from the banking system.
Right.
And then even Trump card with, the Trump card, the wild man, and Elon Musk, that musky man. And who wrote about him? Werner von Braun. The mission to Mars. I mean, it's so wild.
Right.
What kind of reality are we in here?
I know. I'm with you. We got to see the whole show. I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. I'm telling you, just look back in history, and I want you to take every single president, and I want you to look at what they said and then what happened. And there were definitely different forces in charge. And I think that it's hard. I think people want to wrap so much hope in that. But I think there's so much trickery happening, and there's so many things going on. And I've said this again and again, but you can't be president twice in this country without taking orders. You just can't. And I think there needs to come a time when we finally have that register. And I know people have all their hope in that. And I always say, get your hope out of government. The same entity that took your liberty away through a lot of scheming through all the years is not about to give you any back. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that we have digital ID for domestic travel all ready to go, and that they are going to be honing in on more control over movement. That does not surprise me. It shouldn't surprise you either. So all of these things happening, I don't think we should be surprised. I actually think we should really be taking a good hard look and seeing the reality of it. If a lot of people see the reality, if you look back and you go, oh my gosh, we were so played in so many ways, and stop the worshiping of individuals. That's just not working for us. So please. But if you really start to kind of look at where we're headed, then maybe we can prepare a little bit better for what's coming. And there's your hope, right? And when the people start to see it, then all of a sudden you go, wow, okay. So, so many things are commandeered. So many things are like this, like conspiring enough to make sure you have front men so they look like they're private entrepreneurs. Okay. I mean, the stories are so full of holes. Things like this do not happen, okay, in the real world. Look at your own experience. Look at the people around you. Look at history. They do not happen unless you're paraded on Time Magazine and on The Tonight Show and you are somebody that they want to promote as a front man. Then all of a sudden you're supposed to just believe that this nonsense takes place. It does not take place in the real world. That's just how it goes. So I'm not quite sure how else to say it, but man alive, there are so many things that I think, the lies are so vast, and there has to be a lot of conspiring in those lies to make those lies actually work, to make them what they are. So, a lot of conspiring. So they're capable for sure. And, who's at the helm? Well, I think you could probably answer that. Who's at the real helm? If you're a religious person, I think you can definitely answer that question. I am. And I know who's at the helm, right? The real helm. I so appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in today. I'll be back tomorrow. We've got some great topics tomorrow. I can't wait to attack tomorrow's show. Tomorrow will be great. I will be on Thursday too. So live on Thursday, you can call in. And of course, be faithful, be fearless. Find out why I say that on the website, katedalleyradio.com, and get your supplements from FIQ. They have big sales going on right now. November is the month of sales, and I love that. So take advantage of it. Thanks, you guys. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you. And share this. Share this with everybody you know. All right? Thanks.